Now to the big story overseas this week. Was it a corrupt president answering for his crimes, or a district attorney determined to make a name for himself through a selective prosecution?
Good afternoon, and we're coming on the air because we're about to witness a moment never before seen in American history. A former president indicted on criminal charges, now moments away from surrendering to authorities right here in New York City.
Earlier this afternoon, Donald Trump was arraigned on a New York Supreme Court indictment.
He appeared in front of a judge to be formally charged with 34 felony counts. He pleaded not guilty to all charges.
There is former President Trump exiting the courtroom.
Former President Donald Trump is being charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records. The charges relate to the hush money that former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen paid to porn star Stormy Daniels over her alleged affair with Trump. As for Trump, he has pleaded not guilty.
And now this massive election interference at a scale never seen before in our country, beginning with the radical left, George Soros-backed prosecutor Alvin Bragg of New York.
Well, that may be the case, or it may be that Trump has committed the crimes. We'll wait and see, but that hasn't stopped some sections of the media from deciding which perspectives you don't get to see.
I need to tell you that right now, the former president himself is making remarks tonight from his home in Florida. As far as we can tell, and what we were prepared for here, is that this is basically a campaign speech in which he is repeating his same lies and allegations against his perceived enemies. It is just getting started. So far, he's just giving his normal list of grievances. We don't consider that necessarily newsworthy, and there's a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. So our deal with you is that we will monitor these remarks. If he does say anything newsworthy, we will turn them around and report on that right away. But for now, just know that it's happening and we're not taking it.
Well, that's the American media for you. Luckily, our journalists here in Australia aren't so biased.
New York City might be returning to normal, but the national political implications of this case are already being felt. Donald Trump is not just a former president, he's the Republican Party's leading candidate for the 2024 nomination, and he'll do whatever he can to try to use this situation to his advantage.
What we saw tonight here was classic Trump. He was rambling, he was angry, he was on the attack. The party has to ask itself, is that our best candidate going forward, or will someone prominent, say a Ron DeSantis here, step forward and say it would be less chaotic with me?
Not so fast. As the Wall Street Journal noted, Mr. Trump is being indicted for conduct that happened in 2016. Federal prosecutors already examined this activity and apparently decided to let it drop. 7 years later, after halting local investigation, an elected Democratic DA has indicted Mr. Trump in a case that could finally come to a resolution right in the middle of the 2024 primaries. And the New York Times reports Mr. Bragg's predecessor has almost a year to bring this case after Mr. Trump left office, but did not do so. And Attorney General Merrick Garland's Justice Department also declined. The case appears so weak on its legal and jurisdictional basis that a state judge might dismiss the case and mitigate that damage. And this from the Age's North American correspondent. If anything, the unsealed indictment left so many questions unanswered that it solidified Trump's stronghold over his party and gave weight to his claims of a politically motivated attack. Serious allegations indeed about a district attorney using the resources of a state to conduct a political prosecution. We'll wait and see how this pans out. Mind you, the Trump-phobia is so strong, some here have already made up their minds. Here's Sydney Morning Herald columnist Peter FitzSimons tweeting regarding the DA, who saw his press conference. Your thoughts? For me, it was obvious. This was no cowboy chancer having a go at Trump for the fun of it. He looked both thoroughly prepared and totally confident that he had a real case. Some so-called journalists are so easily convinced. Kosha, I really want to get your thoughts on this whole saga. How has the media played this?
The media is just suffering from a little bit of a paradox or a schizophrenia, I would say, when it comes to Trump, and they have ever since he came down that escalator, where they really, really, really hate him. They unequivocally hate him and have been waiting for this day where there's just a way to get Trump. This has become a thing, just get him by any means necessary. On the flip side, by the same token, he is ratings gold. And, the coverage over the past 4 days has been wall to wall, from him boarding the flight, taking the limo, what he looked like, what he was wearing. Rachel Maddow there that you played, she tried to sort of portray herself as the savior, the guardian of what is newsworthy and what isn't. But don't be fooled by that. They are covering it wall to wall, and their ratings, have seen a bump from that. So I think they just have this love-hate relationship with it. They will continue covering him, but they do want to see him go down. And there's much more to this story. Yes, it's about Trump. It's about interference by the judicial system in an election where he is still the leading candidate and a former president. It's about, the destruction of norms. It's about maybe abuse of prosecutorial discretion by this DA, as you raised. There's a whole lot to the story, including Trump, but also much, much bigger than Trump in terms of what it means for the country.
Definitely. And Sophie, the media definitely has a love-hate relationship with him. What did you make of the decision of some more left-leaning broadcasters making the decision not to play aspects of his speech because they didn't agree with what Trump was saying?
Well, I think that's going down a problematic road, Jack, because are they going to do this for other politicians around the world? Are they going to actually stop running clips of them doing live speeches if they think they're saying something wild or crazy? This censoring is very much a concern in the media landscape. But Kosha's right. I mean, the media, generally speaking, they hate Trump's guts. They want to see this guy go down and go down fast. And you can just see that with a lot of the editorialization of so-called news articles, which have the journalists' views in there, saying the things that, the journalists there were saying that Trump was rambling and he was carrying on. And I mean, I'm not quite sure that's a news report. That's commentary, isn't it?